Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese Perez, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese Perez and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording. And today we're talking about change management careers. So if you're looking for a job or to enter into change management as your future and as your career, today we're talking about change management careers. And if you're looking to get into change management, and you might be from what I call one of the feeder areas into change, because there's not many people who have chosen, and I don't believe there's a university degree that focuses solely on change management, and nor would I think there should be. I think it should be integrated into other degrees or other teachings in relation to business. There most certainly should be a module on change management, because it is so pivotal and relevant today, and it is a skill set that everyone should have access to. There'll be no surprise that I'm saying this. But we're talking about if you're from the project area, so you might currently be a business analyst who's curious about stepping into change because you have a passion for people. Communications, you might be in the communications area, have been working on different projects and think, well, I could probably be a change manager. I like what that looks like and I'd like to expand my career into change management. You might have marketing background. Certainly I had marketing communications background before I went into projects and then went into change. You might have a learning background, so you might be a trainer, or you might be a HR person, you might even be a risk person. I have met a lot of people in my career in different corporate service areas that I think you should be a change manager, because you get it. You understand how to walk a mile in someone else's shoes and you have that empathy. So you know how to analyze, you know how to best utilize existing communication channels to get the best from the project or program. So if you are looking to jump into change management, and many people do because of their passion for people, but I would say that has to be more than that, because change managers, we're seeing a lot of change managers, I guess, crop up because of their passion for people, but they can't seem to really thrive in the project environment, because project environments are tough, they're stressful. You need to understand how to navigate a project environment. And certainly I had the benefit of coming from being a project manager and having that marketing communications background, which meant that I knew and understood change to a degree. And then yet I still went and got a certification. I went and studied ProSci and had a lot of aha moments about exactly what I would be asking a change manager to do if I was sitting in the program or project seat. But also then if I was a change manager, then I knew what to deliver. And then through my career, I've been a change director and headed up an EPMO with change from a change perspective, head of change. And so I knew what the expectations were in relation to the requirements for a change manager to deliver certain artifacts, but also understand the change. And I think that is the main thing. If you are going to be a change manager, typically you're going to be working on IT change more than likely first, or process change. And that's going to require for you to be able to apply the tools, be able to develop a change plan, run a change impact assessment workshop, be able to form up and develop communications if you have to, be able to get hands-on and develop training, which I've done. You need to be essentially a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades, because you will realize that sometimes you have to jump into the different disciplines if they're not available in an organization. So being well-rounded is the best way that you're going to be able to be a very strong and competent change practitioner. And of course, now we've got human-centered design, which is a discipline in and of itself. And you might be a person in HCD who's looking to come across into change as well. And once again, it means that you need a broad skill set. So definitely, if you're striving to be a high-performing change manager, change director, change program manager, then really you need to have a broad skill set and a really strong communication skill set to be successful. There's a couple of ways in which you can actually achieve and lean into the change space. What I would say, because it's very hard sometimes to break into your first change role, I would be making sure that from a CV perspective, you're highlighting change-related or change type of programs that you've worked on, how you've approached change from your own career background. With that, I mean that you're needing to reframe your experience to be more change savvy. So you might have worked on, for example, communications on a restructure, and you talk about that so that you're familiar with the restructure, reorganization, org design type program, and outline that and your role in that. And you may need to pitch a little bit lower than you typically would. And this happens a lot if you're changing careers, that you start at the base level because you're going across disciplines. So you go across as a change analyst and then work your way through. And without doubt, in big organizations or bigger change practices, if you're going to go in at a lower level and you have a lot of experience, it doesn't take long for you to be able to then step up into a change manager role. It's pretty fast identification that happens in a change practice. If you've got someone who essentially is very strong in communications, comes across as a change analyst, and then can work your way up. Alternatively, you might get a role on a small piece of work as a change manager, which is a great grounding. So just be open to that opportunity. If you are in a big organization and you do have a change practice that's in there, or you do have some change managers in your organization, go and have the conversation with them, or even project managers, go have the conversation with them about projects, what it entails, what they think it would take to move across into any of those roles, because that's also a great way to be able to leverage your existing relationships to move across into another area of the business. So a couple of ways that you can gain experience. I also think that it is worth discussing with your current line manager if you feel safe to do so, or if you have regular performance or development conversations, to talk about how you can get exposure to projects. And that is a good way of getting experience. And if I think about the blend of doing a change, doesn't necessarily need to be a full accreditation or certification, but definitely a change course. And certainly my virtual change manager has change courses for you so that you get a framework that you can apply. Then you're starting to really get that experience in application. And so then when you're interviewing for future roles, you're very confident in the terminology and how it works because you've applied it in your current role. So let's touch on accreditations a little bit. And certainly my virtual change manager, we have some courses. We're currently exploring getting digital badging so that it can be provided to people for their LinkedIn. But we've got ProSci, which is quite pricey. Obviously, if you've got an existing organisation that's willing to fund that, that's fantastic. Cotter as well, that exists. There are some different change management diplomas that exist in some of the formal education here in Australia, and there might be similar ones over in the States or in the UK. You need to explore it. What I would say is one of the things that we've really been focused on in my virtual change manager is creating a program that is very, very practical, because unless the organization has a clear change framework, then people can see it as being cumbersome. So there is a discipline, of course, and then there's the flexibility that you get through experience of understanding the minimum viable products when it comes to change, which is really your change plan. A lot of it then has to do with just delivering to your change plan. Your impact assessment that you do behind the scenes, that you do more for yourself and for stakeholders to understand the change than for anyone else. It's not necessarily an artifact that you ever table with anyone, but it is the engine and the focus to make sure that you get the best change plan together. And then after that, everything else can be a little bit extraneous if you don't have the time. So accreditations are good. It's not really a sign of competency at all. There's a lot of debate, certainly amongst the change community on this, because people are going to get the piece of paper, and yet when they're going into the organisations, they're not delivering because they're not understanding the stakeholder management, the communication elements, how to work within an organisation structure. And certainly they're the things that we cover in my virtual change manager, so that people really understand when they go back to the business how it works and where you have to flex versus where you might be able to get a little sharper on what you're delivering. So there's a couple of things to consider around the pathways. You can, as I mentioned, talk to your PMO, talk to your current people leader about experience in projects or programs, look at accreditations, see what course fits to your price point, and make sure that if you're not sure if you're really wanting to go full on into a change role, whether it's just change basics that you want and need, come and, of course, check out my virtual change manager on that. And then just to finish, I also want to touch on some of the characteristics that you will need to have and that you will need to build over time, because I think it's really important to have your eyes wide open when venturing into the world of change. Certainly when I went into change in my career, I was in projects and I had a very strong communications and marketing background. So I was a well-rounded project manager, really, and was tasked with some smaller operational deliverables. And, I thrived in that and really enjoyed that, because it was great to be able to have the autonomy, run the project timeline, as well as make sure the communications happens. It was exhausting sometimes, but definitely rewarding, working with some fantastic people in the business areas that I worked to deliver change. Then heading into bigger organizations, I was a fully fledged change manager, senior change manager, focusing primarily on the change, and had change analysts and BAs and others who I would work with in a big project or program way. And sometimes you have to make up and fill the gap of the framework if there's something specific that you're creating for the organization. That's kind of pretty constant, actually, if you're looking at more organizational design and structure, like you're looking at different artifacts with that. So I blended and went with a flow into change management. And I know it's very different nowadays, that sometimes it can be, I have a passion for people. I want to get into this thing called change because I like training, communications, etc. I like all of those. Some people even have psychology degrees and head in via OD functions and into change. A couple of things to have your eyes wide open about heading into change. You need to be resilient. You will burn out if you don't know how to define boundaries. I talk from experience, of course. I don't talk from perfection. I talk from the experience and getting better and better and better at it, even seeking leaders who encourage it so that I can be successful, deliver with joy and finish, and then not have to recover. And that's really important, especially if you're in a business as usual change manager role that you're taking on, is that you don't get burnt out. Having an ability to have an emotional awareness around how you're behaving, making sure as well that you're able to push to clarity so that you can progress your piece of work will also define your success. I have seen, witnessed, and had to manage change managers who are happy having a chat but really struggle to deliver, and that is not tenable under economic pressures and resource pressures that exist in today's environments. So it's not about communication and navigating relationships only. That's only part of it. And definitely being able to navigate successfully any organisation, the relationships, have respectful relationships, seek feedback, be able to receive feedback, and then tailor that and combine that into your change approach is where it's at when it comes to change management. And if that is something that you say, yep, Therese, I definitely am able to do that, I know that it's going to lend itself well to my strengths as a listener, as someone who can empathize with others, as someone who can deliver and really enjoys delivering, and someone who loves to be part of a team, then let's go. Get into change, because it really will be challenging and rewarding. And whether it be a pure change role or whether you're heading into leadership or a corporate services area where you need to influence for change, then these are the skill sets. It is absolutely worthwhile to upskill in change management, in change leadership, to be able to get the best results and the best engagement, and to be able to align people to their purpose and be able to get performance from people who may be unmotivated when you walk in the door. And I hope that this episode has helped you around possible pathways, things that you can do today to achieve what you would like and to head into the world of change. Thanks for listening and have a great day. Hi, it's Therese here again. I just wanted to mention that we have the Change Intelligence webinar series happening this year, and you don't want to miss out on any of the topics that we're going to cover. It's a live webinar series talking about change resilience, change frameworks, connected thinking, how you can change your mindset and the mindset of others, behavioural change and what that can offer. If you don't want to miss out, then come to myvirtualchangemanager.com. Just simply register and we'll let you know when the next webinars are happening so that you can come along. Spaces are limited, so be sure to jump across and register as soon as you can, and you'll see some of the topics that we're going to cover. I hope to see you there and to continue to work with you to create positive change experiences.